boys and girls. We have a very special podcast. As you can see, Stephen's ready for this introduction as he's slurping tea. Because, we've got a big man in for us today, UK and Irish Strongman champion, PaO'Dwyer. Welcome, Pa, to the podcast.
What is crack?
How's the crack in Limerick?
The crack in Limerick is to dry anyway, at least.
Yeah, big change in the weather. What part of Limerick are you from, Pa?
I'm from the west, out beyond Newcastle West, up in a mountain called Ruska. Ruska Hill is where I came from.
Not too bad.
Good
mountain
stuff.
Man.
Good stuff.
None of them wear t-shirts around there, no?
I can't find one.
Your nipples are that hard now. You could cut glass with them.
Didn't know anything.
We're in the World's Strongest Man there recently enough. How did that go for you? And how obviously we just want to have a chat with you about your progression into, obviously winning titles in the strongman competitions and stuff like that. How did the World's Strongest Man go for you?
World's Strongest Man was great. It was great to be there because I'm only one of two Irish guys that's ever been there. And it's nearly 50-year history. So it was great to be there representing the country. Other than that, it was good crack, I suppose. I was out in Florida for nearly 2 weeks. So it was good to get out of this fucking shithole for a while, you know.
How do you get into the World's Strongest Man?
You can get into World's Strongest Man two ways. You can either be, you can qualify first or you get a wild card entry. So I was kind of placed on top in Britain's Strongest Man, and I placed sixth at Europe's Strongest Man. And after that, then Europe's Strongest Man was probably, I'd say, about 2 months before World's Strongest Man, and they invited me on that marathon. So it was good though. It was good to meet up with the guys. Like there's some of the guys there. There's one, the kind of reigning champion there is Brian Shaw, and Brian Shaw's nearly 7 foot tall. He's 33 stone. So when you see guys this big, it's just fucking unreal to be competing alongside him.
Where is that lad from?
He's from Colorado in USA.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Man.
He's a big whore, yeah.
Would you smell of just pure creatine all over the place?
Or smell of shite off the bastards.
So maybe, Pat, we'll go back to the start. How did you get into the strongman events? Go back to the beginning. How were you always into or when did you take it seriously? Or
I was kind of drinking and bollocksing constantly up until I was about the age of 21, and I was smoking, drinking fucking nearly 7 nights a week, and my girlfriend at the time then became pregnant, so I said I'd fucking straighten myself out of it. And I met a fella actually in the pub who'd be known for going to the gym a lot, and I said I might go with you Monday evening, and he was like, oh yeah, here we go, another fucking hero inside the pub. And I actually joined with him that evening, 7 o'clock that Monday, the following Monday evening I was with him. And that was 15 years ago. And I don't think I've gone without training for more than 2 days in that 15-year period.
Wow.
So I joined the gym that Monday evening and I was training for years. I'd been strong enough anyway because I grew up on a farm. So like pulling and dragging was kind of bait into me.
I read about that. I read about you going to the pub and meeting your man. But you said you weren't a big man. You were only about 11 stone, was it?
Yeah, at the time I was only 11 stone. I wouldn't have been a big fella at all. And probably my heaviest weight was, I'm actually close enough to it now at the minute. I'm nearly 23 stone at the minute. But yeah, so I nearly doubled my fucking weight in 15 years.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well,
But straight away, once I started training, I started getting big. My grandfather was a very big man. And I assume I got off of him. Either that or the postman up our way is a big fucker. Unless he gets the blame.
what height are you, Pat?
I'm 6'2".
Oh, you're Okay.
Christ.
Big man anyway.
Christ, you're big. You're big. And tell me this, Pat, can you give me a rundown, lockdown aside, can you give me a rundown, say if it wasn't the lockdown, can you give me a rundown of your regular day? What do you do?
My regular day, I'm a personal trainer. I train people here at home. There's actually, see the shade in the background there behind my big head is a gym.
Oh,
And it just allows me to do my own training and train, because I train kind of coming up to competition. I train twice a day. One is a heavyweight session, the other is a cardio session. So it just allows me, when I work for myself, that I'm not constantly booking time off. And like that wasn't working out with different lads that I was working for. Like I used to be in construction and that. But just when I'm working for myself, I can work around myself, and there's no issues fighting with fucking bosses and all this shit.
Of course.
I remember actually one time I was after winning. I think it was Ireland's Strongest Man, or so I won some competition anyway. But at this stage, the boss was actually sick of giving me time off. So I knew if I said to him, I was actually invited onto the FM. I was going up to Dublin to Dermot and Dave, and I knew if I said that to him, he'd be like, "No, fuck off! You're always getting time off." So I said to him, Tom, I have to go away there. I have fucking a dentist appointment there at 12 o'clock. I should be back though for 1 or 2 o'clock. And he said, well, fucking go on. So go on. So I went up and I to Dermot Dave, did the interview, and I came back and I went into the office, and I could see 3 or 4 of them kind of smirking, looking around. So I said nothing. I just picked up my paperwork. And he says, well, Pat, how did the dentist go? I said, grand, yeah, just a bit of a cleaning, and that was it. And I was out the gap again. He goes, so that wasn't you into the FM, no? No. It's the FM I'm inside the fucking office.
You got caught rotten.
Fucking rotten, yeah. So I'm a personal trainer now, so I kind of work for myself, and I just take as many PTs as I need to take, that allows me. But a normal daily routine then for me is I might be up at, my first meal then would be, I'd be up at maybe 6 o'clock in the morning, I have my first meal, and I eat every 3 hours after that. Each meal probably consists of about 1,000-ish calories. So coming up to competition, I'm eating nearly 10,000 calories a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's probably the hardest thing about strongman, and any serious pro strongman will tell you the same. But like the training is hard, but I love it. You're tearing fucking calluses, you're tearing skin off your hands and skin off your shins. But we can enjoy that bit of it. It's the fucking eating, the constant eating constantly is the tough part. And like right before I go to bed, I have nearly I have a pound of beef weight. At the minute, I'm kind of on a low carb diet because I have no competition coming up. But I'm still eating a pound of beef before I get into bed with an apple.
Christ.
So yeah, there's a lot of fucking eating. You'll be sick the shit of it eating. I haven't been hungry, in about fucking 6 years.
Jesus Christ. Jesus, that's serious amount of eating. Serious amount of eating. Listen, Pat, I remember when I was young, myself and my dad, we used to love The Strongest Man. We'd be sitting, I think everybody was the same. Chris was telling me the same, is you'd sit down there and the Atlas stones and stuff like that, and I have a kind of rough idea what it's about. But can you give us a quick synopsis of how the competition is run and how do you win per se? It's not basically the person that lifts the most. You have to walk, you have to run. There's a mix. It's not just like a bodybuilding competition. Just for somebody that has never heard of The Strongest Man, can you give us a rundown?
Basically, strongman is entertainment for all the mass. It's the same. It's the type of sport that would entertain a 5-year-old the same way it would an 8-year-old. Like what you're going to see the strongman competition is typical events are pulling maybe a 30 or 40 ton truck down 30 meters. You might have a loading race then. So it'll be 4 implements that you'll bring over 20 meters. Normally it's 4 or 5 implements. Each way, like one of them is a keg, but they take the beer out and they fill it and they fill it with concrete. So it weighs in around the same weight as myself, probably 140, 150 kg. It'll be around a 23 stone keg, and you run with that for distance. Then you might see you lifting one of these big heavy logs up their chest and pressing overhead. And after that, then kind of the most typical strongman event is the Atlas stones, then the balls of concrete, just lifting them onto plinths. But there's no point being big and slow, because strongman events will always have 2 or 3 events where they're going to test your speed and your the way you can move. So there's no point being a lump of shite that can't move, but lift all around them, or you'll just lose the points then in the running events, because we have to be able to run as well.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
I seen that interview you done in, I think it was before the UK's Strongest Man, where you were explaining that you need to be a fit, not just strong. That it's only part of the benefit of being strong, that you actually have to be fit as well to go with it.
Yeah, you do. When I was at Britain's Strongest Man, which was January last year, my loading race was really slow, and like I'm one of the lightest guys on the circuit, so I should be winning an event like that. And I actually hooked up with a big fucker in the GA, and he was just looking at the way I run, and I run like I'm fucking, like there's something shoved up my arse. But he straightened me out. He, like, the way I was running, my hands were everywhere, my fucking legs were everywhere, and I was all legs and hands, but I was fucking going nowhere. So I worked on my running, and like the guy that won the loading race in January, I was like 1 second behind him at Europe's Strongest Man. So just working on one small thing alone, I gained a load of points, because it's typical of it. Strongman competition, like Europe's Strongest Man, is 5 events. So if one mistake in one of the events, you're fucked. So like I took a good bit of time off my loading race then, just by working on how I run. So it was just something as simple as that.
Wow. Wow.
Today, you know, when obviously I think we all watched the strongman competitions on BBC or Bravo or whatever channel they were on, you know, is there any inspirations out there, like the likes of Pujanowski or whatever, became kind of a household name it just in sport? Is there any inspirations out there that you kind of went, yeah, that this might be for me? Like,
I suppose everyone was a big fan of Mariusz Pujanowski, because he was not only strong, but he looked the part. You know, he had the abs, the fucking chest, the legs, and he was fucking incredibly strong and fast. He could run, he could deadlift, he could massive overhead pressing. So everyone kind of aspired to be like him. But Mariusz Pujanowski was the champion back kind of 90s, early 2000s. But since then, it has just come on so much. Like the deadlift, back when he was in Strongman, the deadlift record was 400 kilos. And now we're doing that for reps in competition. And the deadlift record nowadays is 500 kilos. Wow. So just that typical type of a frame wouldn't win World's Strongest Man anymore. Most of the guys these days that win World's Strongest Man are close to 200 kilo body weight. And you have to be able to run and be fit at that body weight. But it's probably one of the biggest names out there that all of us look up to is Mariusz, or Big Z, Zydrunas Savickas. He's probably the most titles won in Strongman. He's an Arnold Classic champion. He's a World's Strongest Man. He's 60 world records, I think. He's just unbelievable all-around athlete. And he done this as a hobby, because outside of that, he was a politician in his own country in Lithuania. So he was just fucking amazing.
Some Lithuanians are built like tanks.
The Eastern European people are strong man.
Yeah, he was just fucking incredible. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Tell me this, Pat, have you had many injuries?
Not too many injuries. I'm lucky enough that way that I haven't had many injuries. I suppose the worst one I've had really is I was at UK Strongest Man 2 or 3 years ago. 3 years ago now. And there was a pole push. It's basically man against man, and there's like a telephone pole between us. And you use the pole to push the other guy out of the ring.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm describing that well enough that you know what I'm talking about. But it's basically the opposite of tug of war, except you're pushing.
Okay.
So there's handles on this pole, and you try and push each other out of the ring. But anyway, I dropped that down on top of my hand. It was a 3-day competition, and I did it on the first day. I dropped this log down on top of my hand and dropped it flat in my hand like this. So I broke a bone in my hand, and it was just pressing down nerve. But I continued on anyway for the following 2 days. I actually came third that year in UK Strongest Man with a broken hand.
What year was that?
That was 2019.
Oh, yeah. So
2019. Yeah.
Was there a competition last year?
There was no. It was cancelled. The only competitions that ran last year were Britain's Strongest Man, which was in January, but that was before all this shit. There was Europe's Strongest Man, UK Strongest Man actually was run last year, and World Strongest Man. There's only 4 competitions.
Right. Well, I'm sure, like everything, the coronavirus has affected all the competitions.
Well, it's affected them more this year because, like last year, they still ran competitions, and it was just shown for TV. But this year, they have said that they're doing no more competitions just for TV. That they're losing too much money in it, so it has to be audience based, or it's not happening at all. And Britain's Strongest Man was meant to be on in January. That was obviously cancelled. Then it was put to April alongside Europe's Strongest Man. So we're going to have Britain's and Europe's Strongest Man in April. And they're both been cancelled now. So I don't think anything is going to go ahead this year unless something fucking significant happens over the next 3 or 4 months.
That must be very frustrating because you cannot train for something that you don't know.
That's it. It's very frustrating because, like, another thing, when I came back from World's Strongest Man last year, one of the things I said, like, an Irishman has never made top 10 at World's Strongest Man. So my goal is to make the top 10, the grand final of World's Strongest Man. And when I came back from World's Strongest Man, that's all I had in my head was just making that grand final, knowing that full well that I can do it. My only downside is my diet. So I got a dietitian, and he's one of the top guys in the world, and he cost upfront €5,000. So I'm after paying for a dietitian, and like I'm getting no benefit at all out of it because all these competitions are being cancelled. So it's a pain in the bollocks. Plus, I'm losing motivation at this stage. Like we're eating 6,000-7,000 calories a day, trying to lift 300 or 400 kilos on each session, like deadlifting, squatting, overhead pressing. It's just fucking. But every one of the guys is the same. Like I would be friendly enough with the likes of Eddie Hall and all these guys, and no one has motivation these days.
Yeah. Yeah. What's Eddie like? Eddie's got to be blown up the last few years. What's he like? He seems like a soundskin.
His sound actually, he used to be a desperate mad cunt back 4 or 5 years ago. He was fucking crazy, but since then he's tamed down a lot. Like there's some stories that I probably couldn't say.
You can't.
Fire away! You're in a safe space.
Sometime. But since then he's calmed down. He's a pure businessman. He's a gentleman, to be fair. Like if you meet him one-on-one, he'd give you fucking all the time in the world. But he's sound. He's a nice guy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I just seen that clip where he was going for, was it a world record deadlift, and the blood started coming out. Was it out of his ears or his nose?
Out his nose, yeah.
Out his nose. And then afterwards he had to sit down, and he said he was at his kid's birthday party, and he just, for a few seconds there, he didn't know. He was worried, like he had to. I don't know if he had to get a scan or something, but he said it took it out of him. Have you experienced anything like that after a lift where you're completely fucked?
Out, yeah, it happens often with heavy weight. Yeah, you'll just black out. It happened to me probably, I say it was about 6 months ago, and I'd taken out a log. It was about 250 kilos, which would be a quarter of a ton on my chest, and I walked it out. And it's just to build up the core strength, and I put it back. And it was funny because there was music playing in the background, so the music was and the music had slowed down, and I just fucking fell back. But I was grand after that.
Did the log fall on you?
No, because I had safety pins catching the log. Okay. But it's just because I took them off it. But no, if I dropped that log on me, I wouldn't be here talking to you.
Okay, yeah. Jesus Christ.
But I don't know. Eddie, that time he did the deadlift, there was a bit of drama with that. I wouldn't buy into all that harsh shit. Okay.
They had to make it a bit more exciting than it was. Like
exactly. Like they got up and walked away. There'll be nothing about it. But yeah, when he said he nearly died, it salted a bit better.
Yeah. The businessman, he's cute. He was rearing the fox's milk.
He is a cute horse, right?
Speaking of business, I read, or I think it was actually one of your interviews, that there isn't, for the actual athlete themselves, there isn't an awful lot of financial gain from these. When you say you had to pay out €5,000 to a dietitian, was that 5,000 out of your pocket, or are you getting reimbursed for that?
No, that is €5,000 out of my own pocket. I spend another 200 or 300 euros a week on food. Everything I do for Strongman, I do it for myself. I pay for myself. Yeah. You go across to England, and all the guys are fucking sponsored left, right, and centre. They're getting cars, and they get these big companies just like they've probably 4 or 5 big companies, and they might give them a couple of £100 per month. But when you're getting a couple of £100 per month of 5 or 6 different companies, it's a massive help. But I don't know, Ireland isn't a bit of a begrudging country that way. We don't get a lot of that here.
It sort of is. I know we love to see ourselves doing well when we're out international, but when it comes down to the local, to the local stuff, you know, we can't get too high above our stations.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. If we're doing well, we want you doing well, but not too well.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. We get jealous. We get jealous.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. It's very.
And
And
same
are
in
you?
America, all the guys over there are heavily sponsored as well, where they pay for nothing. So it does make it easier.
Yeah. Are you sponsored now, Pat? Have you a sponsorship?
I have a couple of small sponsors, like the knee sleeves, the elbow sleeves, weightlifting belts, stuff like that. Small bits and pieces, but nothing worth fucking talking about, to be honest.
Would
Yeah.
it get you to go looking for sponsorship, or have you looked for sponsorship?
I looked a couple of years ago, and most of the people didn't even reply back to me. So I said, fuck them, I'll do it myself.
Did right.
Big time. Like we interviewed Ray Moylers as well, and he had the same sort of thing. You're the west of Ireland. There's, you know, you nearly have to prove yourself first. You have to be the best of the best of the best before you can even look for anything.
Exactly, yeah. It's like even the two rowers from Cork. Fucking, what's their names? I can't think of their fucking names. From yeah.
Oh yeah, they won the Olympics, didn't they?
Literally won the Olympics before they got fucking any recognition.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if we're not playing hurling or football, they want to know.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? It's true. It's true. So,
like, how long were you training for before you decided to go for your first competition? Like,
I was training about 5 or 6 years, and this small competition came up in Cork. And I said I was only do it for the crack. I was just kind of get out of the house for the weekend. And I was there. There was like fucking 20. Like, there's a massive Strongman community in Ireland.
Yeah.
Below that small amateur competition, there was like 24 or 5 guys that are competing that day. And I turned up. I was looking around me going, what the fuck am I doing here? Because they're all big, hairy bastards. Kind of like how I am now. And I turned up and I just kind of did like a couple of lads helped me on the same day. And I was third place. I came third place in that, my first competition, beating a lot of bigger guys than me. And kind of since then I kind of just said, fuck it, I'll stick at this crack. Tis good crack.
Are you at your biggest now? I know you said you were nearly at your heaviest.
I'm only about 2 kilos off my heaviest ever at the minute. I'm about 141 kilos, yeah.
Yeah, that's your pinnacle. You wouldn't like that.
No, I want to get up to 150 kilos by like I was hoping by the end of April. So I'm hoping to put on another 8 or 9 kilos before the end of April, maybe the start of May.
Okay.
World's Strongest Man this year is on in California in the middle of June, from the 10th to the 15th of June. Now, no invitations have been given out yet. I'm not even sure how they're going to invite guys, because there was 2 or 3 lads missing from last year's competition that should be there, that were in contention of winning it, but were out due to injury. So I'm not sure how it's going to be run this year, but I'm going to train and eat as if I am going. You know.
Brilliant. You see, that's what I mean about the whole virus thing and everything up in a heap. It's, you have to sort of think like that you are going to a certain event.
Well, yeah, because it'd be my fucking luck if I don't get the finger out and they do invite me.
Yeah. It's better to be looking at it than looking for it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's it.
So, I can imagine that obviously when you see those big crowds at one of these competitions, must really give you that extra bit of adrenaline to throw up that last Atlas stone, or, you know, obviously if you're doing a massive pull, a truck pull or whatever like that, the crowds can really give you a massive help there.
crowd is a massive thing with these competitions. And I really noticed that because last January when I was at Britain's Strongest Man, there was like 15 or 20,000 people there. And when you have that many people roaring at you to lift a stone or roaring at you to lift a log or a deadlift or whatever the fuck it is, it's a massive help compared to fast forward to Europe's Strongest Man, which was on in August, and all that was there looking at you was a fucking camera crew and a fellow holding a microphone and the commentator, and it's like, go. All right. And then they're just lifting. So it did take it away massively. You know, it's an unbelievable thing to go to. Like when things do kick up again, I suggest that you would go to one of these big competitions because they're so well put together these days. Like even only until last year, like what was there, Britain's Strongest Man, the way they run it, the way it's just fucking unreal to see this thing going on. So I'll invite you over when things do kick up again.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely, we'd love to go over. We'd love to go over. Tell me this, Pat. Do you get much recovery between events?
Depends on the show. World's Strongest Man ran 2 events a day for 4 days. So it was an awful bollocks of a competition because you would do an event at 9 o'clock in the morning. You were then kind of put into a lobby, kind of on a couch for 6-7 hours. And then you did another event. It was just a fucking nightmare in that sense. And then you come to another competition like Britain's Strongest Man, and you have about 20 minutes in between events. So you'll be doing a deadlift. Like this year is meant to be max deadlift. Max deadlift could go to 450 kilos. You get 20 minutes break, then come out and start doing overhead pressing. 20 minutes break, come out, that's doing farmer's walk. And that's how a Britain's Strongest Man show would be run. So it differs. Every competition differs.
And are you, like, this might seem like a silly question, are you eating like an animal in between events, or you can't eat too much in case you get sick, or what is it? Is it a happy balance, or?
It kind of depends what you're at. Like, I hate eating before deadlifting because when you're down in that fucking position, all you want to do is get sick. But when I'm doing overhead pressing, then I don't mind being full. So it's I kind of tend to not eat too much before deadlift. I'll sip away on like shit, like Coke, 7-Up, penny sweets, stuff that my body can digest fast, simple sugars. Okay. If I'm getting a 20-minute break and there's overhead pressing coming up, I'll have like pasta or something like that, something that's a bit more, takes longer to break down inside in the body, basically.
Right.
How many of them competitions then on a normal year, no COVID, no nothing, how many competitions could you do on average in a year?
Well, they're getting more popular these days. So these days they're trying to nearly do one a month. Okay. So yeah, they're fucking hard and heavy. And some of the guys, like this guy in Canada, he came third in World's Strongest Man. And for a long time there, he was doing a competition nearly every second week. Wow. And every second week he was deadlifting 420 kilos, lifting 200 kilo logs over his head, week after week after week. And like, it's a great way to make money. If you're that top guy, like these shows are offering 20 grand for the winner. So if you do 10, 12 shows a year, you're on a winner. But it's just the level is so high at the minute. So it's hard to be that top guy constantly.
I'd say there's not, sorry. I'd say it's not just like, this might sound like a novice question altogether, but I'd say it's a lot of psychological in your head as well, psychological work. You have to get yourself in the right frame of mind to lift something.
Oh yeah, like psychological is probably the most important thing with lifting something heavy. Like if me and you walked out to your car at the minute and I said, we're going to lift your car, the first thing you'll think immediately, not just you, like, but a normal arsehole. Think of a normal arsehole would say, I'm not going to lift my fucking car. Whereas my mindset is, geez, I wonder how many times I can lift it. So I kind of taught myself that I'm always going to be ready to lift heavy shit. And another thing then is, like, I remember I was at the competition. It was the year I won UK Strongest Man. UK Strongest Man is a 3-day competition, 5 events a day. It's just fucking horrible. It came to the 3rd day and it was 35 degrees. It was 30, 35 degrees every day. So come the 3rd day, every one of us was bollocks. Fucking bollocks now. So they're all inside the tent. And I kind of was behind the tent. I was waiting to go in. I was just like, Jesus Christ, how am I going to do another day of this fucking shit? So I took and I kind of straightened myself out. And I puffed my chest out and I walked into it. I said, well, boys, which one of you fuckers is coming second today? And I fucked my gear back into the middle of them. And they're all like, where the fuck is this cunt getting his energy from? And like, the tent is full of all these English guys. And I was starting singing, come out, you blackened hands and all this sort of thing, just fucking with their heads.
Very good, very good, very good. I didn't realize it's obviously there's gamesmanship as well, obviously, you know.
There is massively. Getting into people's head is one of the easiest things you could do, and it'll fuck them up and it'll gain you points.
Yeah.
But, I always apologize after.
Of course. It's better to say sorry than ask for permission, as they say.
Exactly.
There's much rivalry between, like there is in like rugby or anything, soccer or anything. Is it the same rivalry with Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland as there would be?
In other words, do we have to beat the English?
Yeah, we have
Which
to.
is yes.
Yeah, there's always that thing about beating the English, but we wouldn't be there's never any hard feelings between any of us. Like, we're at World's Strongest Man, there's a collection of fucking, I don't know how many different nationalities, and every single one of us will help each other out getting, you know, like, even when I was doing the deadlift, the World's Strongest Man, the guys that were against me were the ones helping me put on my suit. It's a deadlift suit, handing me my chalk, handing me drinks, handing me something to eat, and then you kind of help them. So there's great camaraderie between us at Strongman. We're always trying to help each other out. There's never this fucking bitterness like you'd see in fucking soccer. Do you know the way there are?
Yeah.
Bastards.
And would you go for a few pints after, or would you be able to go for a few pints?
Years ago, we used to often go out for drink, but these days it's gone so professional. Like, the guys are just pure professionals, and it's like the very minute the competition is over, it's either go down to the fucking sauna for a while or straight to bed. There's no bollocks really. Well, no, after the competition, we might have one or two drinks, but that's it. It's fucking straight to bed. There's no bollocks, and it's kind of basically getting back up on the saddle of your diet the following day and stretching, foam rolling, recovery, and that's the following day of a competition, really.
Yeah.
There's no more bollocks, really.
The improvement that you said, that there's been obviously massive strides in the sport. It's really improved. Is that down to guys getting having better techniques, or where have those improvements kind of come through?
How do you mean, from an audience point of view or strength levels?
Sport that you know, the sport has progressed in the last couple of years, especially.
The sport itself has progressed. It's really fucking down to, I suppose, two guys really, Eddie Hall and Thor Bjornsson, because Eddie Hall, and you know Thor out of Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
He was the Mountain. So he was World's Strongest Man in 2018 and has been Europe's Strongest Man 5 times. So he was a massive influence in bringing the audience over across to Strongman, basically. And then you have Eddie Hall, who mainstreamed Strongman in England so much because he'd such a following in England, and he brought out his own documentary. It was on Netflix. Massive influence on YouTube, same like Thor as well. So them two guys really brought it on mainstream, and then they've other strongmen who are following their path now. So you've got the strongest brothers in the world who live in Scotland, and they're appearing a lot on TV and YouTube and all this sort of shit. So I imagine in 5 years' time it's going to be bigger. It's going to be a massive sport. Well, hoping so anyway.
Exactly. But then on the flip side of that, you're saying that the weights that are being lifted are bigger than they were 20 years ago. They're heavier than they were 20 years ago. How is that? It's just like, I suppose, people getting faster and faster, like Usain Bolt. How does that progression? What is the technique that has brought that along? Is it more?
It's a kind of a multitude of things. Like, it's number one, anyway, 10, 20 years ago, you were getting fellas who were part-time farmers and part-time truck drivers rolling up at World's Strongest Men who weren't really trained events. Now you got guys who are professional athletes who are training, who are just 24 hours a day working on getting better at deadlift, working on getting better at overhead. They're reaching out to these coaches, dietitians, all these sort of things, just to figure out how they can get faster, bigger, stronger. That then, and we're strongman's after really rolling into the recovery game over the last kind of since 2014 and 15. Even myself here, I've set up here for myself. It's hot and cold recovery. So jumping into hot water, then jumping into an ice bath. We do hydrotherapy. What else? Like I'm going for massage like twice a week, deep tissue, stretch and mobility. All these things weren't done before. And it's basically come from science to learn how to treat your muscle better. Getting proper, adequate calories in, not just eating fucking shite constantly, but eating proper meat, proper carbohydrates, getting all these nutrients in, working with creatine, stuff like that, getting enough food in, and just being a professional athlete. Like it's like comparing the guy who's driving a truck 5 days a week and plays soccer the weekend to professional soccer players. So you've the guy who's doing it all the time and there's a guy who's doing it part-time. There's going to be a massive difference. So that's probably the main thing that's driven up the sport of it. And then you just have genetic freaks. Then, like the world deadlift record for years, it went from 441, then 442, then it went to 450, then 454, then it was 460. This went on for years. It was only kilo by kilo by kilo, always went up a kilo. Then you had Eddie Hall, who brought the deadlift record from 464 up to 500 kilos, which is 36 kg of a jump, which is just fucking enormous. And he's fucking blown it out of the water. Now everyone's trying to keep up with him. So in him just doing that, everyone else is trying to keep up with him. So he's dragging all these other athletes along with him when he does something like that. So it's these feats of strength in it that are kind of pushing guys to lift more. And unfortunately, the flip side of that is these guys are fucking killing themselves. They're pulling muscles, they're breaking their fucking backs, they're doing all these other fucking mad things, trying to keep up with these genetic freaks like Eddie Hall and all these guys. So like I say, it's just a lot of things that's brought on the sport.
What's been your biggest lift so far?
My biggest lift is I've deadlifted 400 kilos for 3 reps. I've never gone to max. I tend to stay away from max lifts because that's where you get fucking injured. The most lifted over my head is 195 kilos. And I've squatted 380 kilos. And I can run fast.
You said that the UK Strongest Man is a 3-day event. Are they not all 3-day events?
No, because Britain's Strongest Man is like a 4-hour event. You have 5 events in like 4 hours. Europe's Strongest Man normally is the same thing. It's like 5 events in like 4 or 5 hours. That's it. UK Strongest Man is 3 days. Then it's bringing the crowds back. Like it's just his way of making money. Bring the crowds into the stadium for 3 days, selling tickets, selling all the merchandise, all this sort of thing. So it's just his way of doing things.
So then the Irish one then is the Irish Strongest Man is done in Ireland, obviously, or is that under the UK as well?
No, I was meant to bring it to Limerick last year because of I was going for my 5th title, and the 5th title would be a record win. So I was going to bring it to Limerick, but then COVID kind of fucked that up, and the whole thing was cancelled. But it's normally held in Ireland, yeah. But 9 times out of 10, it's held in Belfast. Okay. So not really Ireland.
Oh. Tell me this, Pat. What's your favorite event? Which one is your favorite event? Which do you do the best in?
My favorite event is either deadlifting or log pressing. They're just, I like them events. Like I was brought up on a farm, so I have a strong back naturally. So that's probably one of my favorite events is fucking deadlifting. I'm gonna go in here and turn on a light.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you can see me.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Birds singing in the background.
Lovely. Yeah, that's Limerick. That's Limerick for you.
Can we see your gym set up there, Pat? Can we see your stuff?
This is like my home gym set up here.
Okay, nice.
So
jeez, yeah.
Sort of shit.
Great stuff.
There are 80 kg dumbbells inside there in the corner.
Christ above.
The heaviest in the country.
Jesus. And it must have took you a long time to collect all that stuff.
Yeah, they're expensive enough as well. Like them 2 dumbbells cost me like fucking €400. for a pair.
Christ, yeah.
Just because of the weight that's in them. But yeah. Do you any V play sports, no?
Running.
We do a bit of running, yeah. I do a bit of ultra running myself and cowboy there, and I do a bit of jiu-jitsu and I do a bit of handball as well. But I'm doing all bits, but never master of any. No master of any. No.
That's good. I
When-
used to do a bit of handball when I was in school.
Yeah, it's big down there. It's big. The handball. Chris is a good handballer as well. We used to play a fair bit together, so it is. But it's big down that way.
It's big, yeah. It's big enough down this way. Lads play with their balls.
Tell me this, Pat. This is a generic question now for you. If there was a young fella now watching this, he's a fan of the Hardy Box and he's watching this, what advice would you give him if he wants to get into the strongman?
Stay away from it, the fuck. Like all I can do really is to such a fucking uphill battle. Like follow a diet, get a diet, follow a diet, get a coach, really is the best thing you can do. You see a lot of lads there, and I've been in and out of a lot of gyms, and every one of the fuckers are lifting as much as they can in every single session. Like there's no progression lifting up to a heavy weight. It's always go into the gym, lift as much as I can, go home, don't eat enough food, don't drink enough water, back into the gym, train like a cunt again, lift all around me. There's no recovery, there's no stretching, there's no mobility. Like training for me is probably 30-40% of getting stronger. The other 60-70% is mobility, stretching, deep tissue massages, diets, hot cold therapy, all my recovery things. I've massage guns, I've all these sort of things, acupuncture, fucking suction cups, all these other things. Getting stronger is like lifting weights, only 30% of it.
Yeah.
It's maintain the strength, and trying to get stronger is where the recovery side comes into it. So it's basically about like fucking educating yourself. You know, don't always going to lift heavy weights and think you're going to keep lifting heavy weights inside the gym. Like I never lift the max weight inside the gym because I'll either break my back or bend the bar.
Yeah.
So never train to a max. Always work with a percentage, and typically a good percentage to work with would be like 70-80%.
Okay, that's great advice. That's great advice. So you're saying a lot of young fellas you see in the gym, they're just burning themselves out and they can't recover from.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, they're killing themselves. Now you see a lot of GA lads these days. The clubs have got in strength coaches, and they do give them out programs. That's most of them, to be honest, is a load of bollocks because I've seen some of these programs. They're ridiculous. But at least they're not killing themselves. They're not lifting stupid weights.
Yeah.
So they're good in a sense.
Yeah.
But
they're, how would you change their programs? What difference would you make to theirs?
Kind of typically what I see in these programs is they'll train 3 or 4 days a week. Their program will be set 3 to 4 days a week, and it's basically a full body exercise every day of the week. And which I think is madness because like if you want to make your back stronger, you need like 10 days recovery for your back. So 1 week should be like 1 day should be training your back, like training your hamstrings. When I say your back, I mean like your posterior chain. So your hamstrings, your arse, your lower back, your upper back. Take it. The following week should be a light week. The following week then should be a heavy-ish week. And you rotate it like that.
Okay.
That's how Eddie Hall trains to lift to 500 kilos. So 1 week, he'll train heavy-ish, not fucking crazy, train around 80%, trying to work his speed with 80%. So trying to move his 80% of his max faster every week, 90% of his max every week, but never go near his max. The following week then is about cardio. So like you do like 3 or 4 sets of like 6 to 8 reps. The following week then you work with your percentage again, lifting heavy shit, kind of 80-90%. But like these programs that a lot of the GA give out have them deadlifting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You're deadlifting 3 times a week, so there's no recovery being done. They're doing overhead, they're doing a lot of pressing. So like eventually what happens is they get injured. They're going to get pains in their hips, their elbows, their shoulders. Then they can't play ball. And then that's where, like if you notice, the GA hate gyms. They'll be telling lads stay away from the gym, you're going to get hurt. And that's why they're getting hurt, because they're not being shown how to train properly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be in the club level now, but I'd imagine the senior level would be a bit different than that.
I'm not 100% in what way the senior level would be run, to be fair. That's kind of really at a club level. But no, I used to own a gym, and we used to have some senior lads in there, and they hadn't a clue. No. But see, that's not down to them. That's just down to me not being shown how to do it, you know. Like when I first walked into the gym, I hadn't a fucking clue, which is why I got the help of someone. I always had someone helping me somebody along the way. And then I'd ask a lot of questions. Well, I try not to go into the gym and just fucking be stupid, you know, just lifting stupid shit for the sake of it. Everything you lift should have a purpose.
And how important is your rest? There's a young fella watching now and he wants to be the strongest man. How important is rest and sleep to this young fella?
Rest, well, call it sleep. Sleep is just as important as lifting the weights. If you're not sleeping, you're not recovering. If you're not recovering, you're going to go backwards. It's all about come back to recovery again.
Is that why Pete, sleep 18 hours a day?
I sleep 18 hours a day, exactly. I'm like a sloth. I
remember reading before, now I don't know how true it is, that fucking Ronaldo sleeps 14 hours a day.
Wow. Jeez. That's crazy. It's crazy. I heard tennis players as well sleeping like 10 hours, 10 or 11 hours, but 14 hours a day. He probably goes for a nap as well. You know?
Yeah. I go for a nap as well myself.
Yeah. So you get another boost. I read somewhere you get another boost to testosterone if you nap. I don't know how true that is, but
I suppose I'd have to wake up with a horn after a nap. That must be what that is. So,
fuck's sake. But I think it's kind of like a man's initial fucking. We're kind of brainwashed in a way. We think we have to go hard, like running. Well, I'm just relating to my thing with running or jiu-jitsu. You feel like you're not training unless you're going hard all the time. But that's like you just said. That's not the way to go. You have to be consistent.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be consistent with your training. Like if I went into the gym and deadlifted 400 kilos every week, I'd probably do it for 4 or 5 weeks. Then my back would start aching. I'd start pulling tendons. Your body would just fall apart. But I can get the same level of pain and workout if I deadlift 100 kilos and did 4 sets of 12 reps. I'd still be bollocks after it, but my body and my CNS won't be damaged as much. So it's all about looking after CNS as well. Like if I deadlift on a Monday and I deadlift like a cunt, lifting heavy weights on a Monday, I'm going to burn out my CNS. So for the rest of the week, I'm going to be fucking tired and groggy, which will fuck up the rest of my sessions then as well. So my overhead session will be shit because I'll be still fucked from the deadlift session. My squat session will be bollocks because I'm still kind of trying to recover from that deadlift session. So the
CNS, your central nervous system is shot. Is it from the heavy lifting?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like
that's interesting.
What I'm saying about training smart.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it is.
I heard you know Faraz Zahabi, he's the George St. Pierre's coach in MMA. He was talking about training at 50% before, and he was saying how basically some guys would go to the gym and they'd go at 100%, and then they'd have to they're completely shot, so they have to take 2 days off. But the person that goes 50% 3 days in a row over the course of a year, they're going to be so much further ahead than that person that actually works really hard in that one session, because they're doing 2 sessions to the person's one.
Exactly, yeah. And that has just so many benefits then as well, because like if you compare the 2 guys that are doing 50% to 100%, the guy that's training 100% is going to be constantly injured and sore. And when you're injured and sore, that's going to bring along fucking like your head would be fucked, because you'll be down. Like if your sports is your thing and you're injured, your head is going to be down, so you're not going to feel like training. Whereas if you're tipping along nicely 50%, you're much happier, you're not getting injured, you're more energy, you're never killing yourself, you're not killing your CNS. So it's kind of a ripple effect of it, you know, if you are, when you compare the two. Yeah. So I'd always tip away at 80%, unless there's a fine yoke in the corner. Then I'll start acting the cunt.
Like, Do you think that the strongman sport in Ireland is in a healthy position? Obviously, COVID being out of the way, would you say that it's in this healthy position at the moment?
Not really, no. Like, we don't have too many top level guys. I'm probably the only one at the minute. Whereas if you look across to England, now I know England's a bigger country. Britain's strongest man is normally made up of 12, 13 guys. 6 or 7 of them will be in the World's Strongest Man final. So that's the level you have over there. It's just fucking mental.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's not healthy, you know. But see, that comes back to sponsorship and all these other things. Like, if you look at the Lithuanians and the Turkish guys, they're all sponsored by their countries.
Right.
I'd have some job getting money off of my government to do what I'm doing.
I think we're all in that yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy because the other, like the sports council would give out grants to other athletes, but they wouldn't recognize the strongest man. Would you think that would change in a few years if it gets more popular and more people watching it?
I don't know. See, strongman is stands in a funny area. It's kind of like, it's a small bit like WWE. Like, it's not really as seriously taken as a sport as, say, rugby is.
Yeah.
The strongman is kind of bored in the entertainment side of things as well.
Oldest sports in the world.
Huh?
You know, it's one of the oldest sports in the world.
It's the oldest sport in the world, exactly, yeah.
Wow.
But it's never taken too seriously.
Yeah.
Even the World's Strongest Man is, number 1 is a TV show. Number 2 is to find out who the World's Strongest Man is. So the main thing of World's Strongest Man is it's a TV show. After that, then we'll see who's strong.
Okay, I get you.
In the Highland Games.
Have I did it once above the north years ago, and it's so technical. Even though it looks like all they're doing is fucking stuff around the place and trying to bail over. They're so technical, and I couldn't do it, so I left it off the fuck.
Do you think would the strongest man ever go into the Olympics, or would it be its own? Would it want to go into the Olympics, or?
I don't think so, because there's too much of a variety. Like, there must be 30 or 40 different strongman events. So how would you pick events, you know? Whereas if you look at the weightlifting, that is the Olympics. There's 2 lifts: you've clean and jerk and snatch. So it'd be hard to bring it into the Olympics even. I don't think it would ever. The only thing I can see strongman doing is going down the line of WWE, where and it's kind of at the minute where they're creating these superstars like Eddie Hall, Thor, the brothers in Scotland, me, but see, that's the way I see it going. And all you get, like, it's still going in the right direction. Like, it's making money, it's bringing in more sponsors, it's bringing in more money every year. Yeah. So, like, even for argument's sake, like Britain's Strongest Man in 2016, there was 3,500 people there watching it in the audience. And last year, which was 2020, there was nearly 20,000 people in the crowd.
Wow. So it's growing all the time.
It's growing all the time, but it's gone down the route, I think, of like it's fucking entertainment over sport, I think, really.
Yeah.
So, like, and it is, because, like, you see the characters of the sport always do well. They might be that fucking strong, but if you have a good character, you can be guaranteed you'll be invited to all these shows.
Okay, so, like a persona, like a character, exactly, like yes, I get you.
So I'm just really working on my character over my deadlift.
Would you be interested in doing any other things, any other sport, Pat? Would you be interested in doing boxing? I know Eddie Hall is supposed to go boxing, another strongman. Is it?
Yeah, he's meant to go boxing the mountain.
Yeah.
For not really, no. I think my next thing I'd like to get into is fucking acting or something handy. So if the Hardy Bucks start up again, will you give me a shout?
Oh, definitely, job. Definitely. We might start up something ourselves. We might draft you in.
Yeah. I could be the bad guy. Do you remember, like, Blackie Connors out of Glenroe?
That's right. You can sell us a few horses.
There's plenty of them here in Limerick.
Competing in any of the sports? Have you any other sports interests? Like, would you be into GAA? Would you be into rugby or anything like that?
Not a whole pile into GAA. Like I'd watch Limerick hurling a good bit. But other than that, I suppose rugby. I would watch the rugby now a lot.
Yeah.
To be fair, but this year I don't know. It's not the same. I know everyone's saying that, but it's not the same.
No.
Like the Six Nations, I feel isn't the same as it was a couple of years ago.
Even provincial rugby, it doesn't have as much of a.
You need an atmosphere.
Yeah,
you do. It's fucking that. They like the atmosphere. I think it's like me and Strongman. It takes away from the guys as well. When they like how many we had a match 70,000. So when they don't have the 70,000 lads rowing at them, it does. It takes away from it a bit.
100%.
You're kind of looking out your mouth a bit.
One question I was going to ask there. You were on about lads coming up and them wanting to be the next Eddie Hall or the next Tor or the next PaO'Dwyer. Do you ever see any of them putting so much pressure on themselves that they're actually it's not a good thing for them mentally?
I suppose you would, but like you'll get that in any sport. Like you would get that in fucking chess. Do you know?
Yeah.
The thing to think about it is, like all you can do is work with what you have. Really, do you know? You can't make genetics out of thin air. So you know you're going to be a good strongman or you're not. If you're 5'6" and you're weighing about 10 stone, strongman mightn't be for you.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't be able to reach the top of the plinth.
Like the first plinth that we put the stones on is 6'5", I think.
Okay.
And the first stone then is it's 120 kilos. So it's like fucking, which would be in stone. What would that be? Fucking about 20 stone of concrete up onto 6'5".
Okay.
No.
It's like lifting my father up onto a plinth.
Father must be Vico, is he?
Oh, big bastard, yeah. Massive.
He could have competed. I was talking to him earlier.
Yeah, well,
he could have been the strong man.
He also reckons he could probably run fucking 100 meters under 10 seconds, so I wouldn't take any heat of that.
I had actually a bet last week with he'd be a small, light, hardy fucker. He plays a lot of GA and soccer and that. But I said, I bet you €100, I'll take you on the 50-meter sprint. And he's like, ha ha ha. And I said, I'm fucking serious. And he says, I don't know, you're very explosive, I can't take you on that. You're not good at 50 meters.
But I was surprised to see you doing like obviously as part when from talking to you, it's like doing chin-ups and stuff like that. You fly through them. If you went with strongman competition, it wouldn't be the first type of exercise that would come to mind, doing chin-ups, because obviously you're such a big man yourself.
Yeah. No, chin-ups are a very good accessory for deadlifts. So that's the only reason I do chin-ups, really. They're a brilliant accessory. They're full all-rounder. Like, it works your grip and it literally hits every muscle in your back. So that's the only reason I put them into my program.
And I seen there on Instagram, you have very funny Instagram. If there's anybody watching this, you should check out your Instagram. It's very fucking funny. There's a clip there where you were blending up the fucking rice. And you're like, blend up the rice. I know you had music as well. Oh, it's lovely. And you're like, oh, it was well done. And then there was a clip there where you were jumping in the garden. You did a mad jump in the garden and you just skidded. You skidded. It was good crack. Your Instagram
so they could jump 10 foot.
Yeah, your Instagram is good crack. So I'd recommend anybody to check it out. You know, I suppose that's the future of it too. You have to keep that social media going. We're learning that as well.
Yeah,
we're learning that it's going as well.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, exactly. Yeah. Like I said before, it's about character building for strongmen, and that's where the sponsors come in then as well. Like the cunt that's doing nothing with his Instagram, like no one's going to be checking out that Instagram. Whereas if I'm constantly bollocks and with fucking rice and jumping and bollock, let's see if this cunt is at today.
Let's see if he's wearing a top today.
Is there a female version of World's Strongest Man? Woman.
World's strongest man with a vagina.
I'm sure there is.
There is, yeah. There's world's strongest woman. And fuck me, they are strong. Like the world's strongest woman deadlift record is it's sitting at 293 kilos at the minute. So that's some fucking deadlift. That's a good deadlift for a man, let alone for a woman, you know.
Yeah.
They are fucking animals, yeah. So there is.
There's been no. And would it be ran just like alongside the men's one, or is it a separate entity itself?
It's kind of typically run its own. Sometimes, no, never actually. No, they're ran their own. It wouldn't be. It's like fucking any other sport. It's not as mainstream as the World's Strongest Man, you know. Not to take anything away from them, but it wouldn't be. It's like, yeah. I'm not going to say anymore.
You'll get yourself killed, Pat. You'll get yourself killed. You're basically saying they're not as good, like.
That is useless.
Yeah, listen, Pat, we won't hold you up any longer. Thank you.
You'll catch your death. You'll catch your death in there, so you will. Throw a jacket on.
Have the heat, none.
I'm going to do every inch to chop up.
You got to look. What is your future plans, and apart from COVID, plans and ambitions, Pat, before you go?
My priority, like I said before, is to make top 10 at World's Strongest Man, and after that, I will be in the Hardy books.
And we're going to hold you, if one of these shows, we're going to hold you to the invite, and if the Hardy Bucks ever comes back, we're definitely going to get you on.
Okay. Oh yeah. After that, I'm not sure. I'll just see what way I want. Like I'm not going to put out too many things at the minute. I'm going to prioritize and just try and get top 10 of World's Strongest Man, and we'll see what happens after that. I should probably set up a YouTube page. I have a lot of people fucking onto me about setting up a YouTube page about day-to-day shit, and some of these people, they want to be fucking watching you take a shite. So I might do that.
I'd see, I'm going to take it down a peg or two, but I'd see your shites are very big. You blocked the toilet, you cunt.
I may have made a world record or two.
Sorry, no, I brought it down a bit. But you should definitely set up a YouTube page. Just start off small and just keep chipping away at it, and it'll grow. Then, you know what I mean? Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I did a small few videos, but I just couldn't be fucking asked. Actually, one of them, I think it's over 1 million views.
Brilliant.
So
brilliant. What's that video titled? What's it titled?
That video?
Yeah.
It's I'll send you the link. It's fucking. I deadlifted. It was kind of a higher deadlift. I deadlifted over 1,000 pounds. It'd be 455 kilos. I deadlifted that, and I threw it up. So I think it's called Ireland's Strongest Man Deadlifts 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
And I just threw it up for the fucking crack, and I checked in it there a few weeks ago, and it's 1.1 million views. So
there you go. There you go. Keep putting up the videos. Keep putting up the videos.
And apart from the YouTube, you can be found on Instagram. Anything else, Pat?
Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yeah. And if anybody wants personal training from you, they'll contact you on your Facebook, is it?
Yeah, I'll tell them to fuck off.
You'll have a load of young bucks contacting you now. They want to hang out with you in the shed.
Yeah.
I'm on OnlyFans as well.
The OnlyFans, yes. Dodge.
Pat, look, thanks a lot for coming on to the show, and we'll finish it up.
Yeah,
we'll leave it at that, yeah. Thanks very much, Pat. Legend.
Thanks,
No
everyone.
bother at all. I'll talk to you again. Good luck a while.
Good luck. Good luck.
All right, guys, that was PaO'Dwyer. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you'd like to become a patron, of course, you'll find the Patreon link on our Instagram and Facebook. So every little helps, as they say. Guys, that was good? Yeah.
That was good. Yeah, he's great crack, wasn't he?
Very great. Yeah. Great crack.
I enjoyed that one. No, I enjoyed that one. So I did.
Out there that would like to sponsor a strongman, I'd love to see him getting his due rewards.
So
Yeah, he does, and it's a great sport. It is a great sport. I'd be glued to it when it's on the telly. Like, do you know what I mean? The only thing is, it's I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is it publicized enough or something? Maybe.
It's like any of those, like any minority sport. Like we've seen it with handball or all these small groupings that have a significant sport. Like we say handball because we played handball, and being a minority sport, fighting to even get a minute of airtime is a possibility.
Yeah.
As you see the likes of RT struggling for money or whatever, like probably the place for strongman in the future is online and going live and stuff like that. You look at and stuff like that. That's a huge sport now.
Yeah, and that's kind of like strongman in a way, except for it's more cardio, is it? It's more cardio.
Have you ever seen the American? Like I was watching it for almost an hour one day. These lads doing a CrossFit championship in it was in a stadium in America, and they started like doing. I think they had a quarter mile run or a half mile run, and then they were like doing pull up. They had to do like 200 pull ups or 300 pull ups. And then they had to do like 300 press ups. Then they had
Jesus Christ
400 steps, and then do the quarter mile or half mile run again. And the fastest one, there was like 200 people that did it. They were all doing it simultaneously. It was real.
Wow. It's amazing how there's new sports all the time. Like, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's it. Look, guys, thanks a lot. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Obviously, if you enjoyed that, if you have anyone in mind to send on the show.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to sponsor us too, it'd be handy. I could do with a bit of deodorant. You know what I mean? You know, the few onion rings there.
Turkish hair.
We have some cracking guests coming up as well, and I'm sure this will be out before. We have David Mullins coming on.
So David Mullins is going to be coming on tomorrow, but we're also going to do a quick video just for our Patreon members. So if you want to be a Patreon member, we'll put a link in the description, and we'll give the names of all the other guests that come to the Patreon.
Yeah, and if anybody out there wants to help the podcast, the best way is to share it among your WhatsApp groups. Just share a clip of it or anything in your WhatsApp groups, or the link or anything, and I'd appreciate it. Word of mouth. And just tell everybody that we're sound skins and we have massive willies.
What's that, Pete? We've got massive willies.
Massive. Right, lads, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers.